Alright, so, pick your left off last video, where, talk about Young Avengers, the complete collection, where King Iron Lad has stumbled across the original Vision. Vision had basically planned out the Avengers failsafe program, basically a contingency plan just in case there was basically a major disaster relating to the Avengers, and we have the next generation heroes basically come into play. They did loosely adapt this for Avengers Earth Mightiest Heroes, and that basically formed the new Avengers led by Spider-Man. And members were Luke Cage, Iron Fist, Spider-Man, Wolverine, and I think War Machine. And most of the team would actually be part of the Volume 2 lineup, minus War Machine. And then we have Wiccan and Hulkling just fight some bank robbers with Patriot. Yeah. And of course, taking these guys down. And then we have Cassie and Kate proceed to break into the Avengers Mansion because, of course, well, she used to live there. They mentioned, oh yeah, I came there once a week every week per month. And then they walked to the very area where in Avengers 500 where Scott Lang died, though they later fixed it with Children's Crusade. So then, of course, they meet up with the Young Avengers. Of course, these two want to join the Young Avengers because, basically, why not? Yeah, thinks it's too young, and of course, basically, that's why being currently too young. Paige able to be basically judo flipped by Cassie Lang. And of course, all she wants is her father's equipment. And then she goes giant size for the first time. Yep. And of course, when they go outside and see Cassie in giant size form, eventually they would talk her down, of course. So Wiccan's name here is called Asgardian. And then, of course, they meet the Young Avengers. And that's when they mention the whole fail circle I just mentioned. And then they reveal who these people are. Patriot is the grandson of Isaiah Bradley, the forgotten Captain America. Yeah, he's actually from the Captain America Truth, White, and Black miniseries. And Cap is very familiar with him. And his name is Teddy Albin. Yeah. So, and then Cassie puts on her look like her father's old costume, and she becomes Drexler. And they, of course, said this thing like, why just ran? It's like, no, we're not interested. And that's kind of the argument back and forth. Because they don't want teenagers being in costumes. They didn't say anything about that when it comes to Spider-Man, because they know who he was. Yep, and then then believe it or not, we have this robot show up. Who the heck this robot is. He keeps saying, Master, Master. Who is this guy? The Growing Man. The Growing Man. Yeah, he's an old Thor villain. Yeah, this is interesting. Prior to this book, he last appeared in an issue of Thunderbolts. After this one issue, he next appears in Sin Squad 1, Young Avengers Presents number 5, the first couple issues, Avengers vs. Atlas, and that was it for him. Yep. And of course, fight him, of course, then eventually Kang later on does show up here. Yep, he's here to get his past self back to the present, to his own time. And apparently kills Cap, Jessica Jones, and Iron Man. So Young Avengers, and of course, they think Isaiah Bradley's got the super syndrome a lot like his grandfather. It turns out it's actually a lie. He's actually taking drugs to give him super strength. Yep, so they go to the future, and of course, then of course, Kate just has her first costume, basically the dress she was wearing, came in with a quiver, looks like a sword, and calls it Hawkbird, and it's actually Mockingbird's mask. And of course, okay, since you're Patriot, here's basically the original Captain America shield, which a little fun fact about that, when Cap Cap used his shield a few times over the years. In the first movie, he used his shield before switching over to the circular shield. In comics, he switched in the original comics from the first issue using this thing to issue 3, where he switched to circular shield. The reason why is because Stan Lee was friends with the creator of the character Shield from Archie Comics, and that's why they changed it, because the shield looks exactly like the character. And of course, then for some weird reason, like, oh, Jessica becomes Jewel again, or Baby appears, Iron Man basically goes back to one of his older armors. Yeah, and of course, Jessica's not happy about being hit this point because she's pregnant, expecting her first and today only child, Danielle, who is not born yet. And of course, they all come out of the ground. Of course, then, yeah, we have Teddy turning to look like shapeshifter the human because he was later revealed to be half Kree, half Skrull. And of course, they have to go, and then basically Cassie kisses basically Iron Lad, and then of course basically they have a big brawl, and yeah, Patriot looks like he's hitting on Kate. Yeah, this will later start an actual romance between the two that will last for quite a while until he retires. Yep. Yeah, and then eventually Ireland takes the armor, of course, to go try to go back to the future, but not really. And then we have him stopped by the Vision. Except it's not the regular Vision, it's basically Ireland's armor who becomes New Vision. Yep, this actually is the debut of Vision II. In this very issue. Yep. They also take his name Jonas later on in the Young Avengers Presents book, but yeah, this is technically the character's debut appearance. And here's the weird thing related to this guy. Well, he never met the original. Nope, he did not. That was for publication reason why. This was when he finally did die. The original was already back. Because of the fact that Jonas Crusade took about 3 years to publish. And that was Marvel's fault, not the book's fault. So then of course Kang dies at the end of issue 5, then supposedly everything's back normal, and then, well, he has to go become Kang the Conqueror, so then he tells Vision to open a portal to, and of course we have Hulkling looks like shapeshift into the Hulk. Yeah, then Vision just uses his armor to open a portal to the future, sends him back, and, well, that's last seen him for a little while. He actually does come back years later. And everybody's back normal, and of course they have to do the right thing by not putting the costumes again. Despite the fact they ignore this because basically they're full of bullcrap. Yeah, they even asked them to train them. They said no. They stayed together for a while, and then eventually they get the call to just put the costumes back on. Of course, Kate does put on her first regular costume, which, yes, this will be a regular costume for many years. And that was the end of the opening story. We have the new Young Avengers. And, of course, Spider-Man basically just supporting them. I'm surprised he became their mentor. Given the fact he was technically Marvel's first teenage superhero who had no mentor. And I think at this point in time, basically gets the Avengers Tower here, because the first story arc, I would say it took place during the 6-month time skip between Avengers finale and New Avengers 1. This, of course, is jumping ahead to present day, which, of course, the Avengers are active now, and the Avengers Tower. So then we're introduced to the families. First, we have Teddy telling his... Actually, it's not Teddy, it's the character that became Wiccan. Telling his parents that he's gay, Not the fact he's a superhero, in fact, they're very happy about it. And then we see Peggy and her husband, Cassie's stepfather. And of course, also Isaiah's like crying the fact his grandson is a superhero. He loves it. Yep. So then, of course, they examine Vision. Of course, basically, like, yeah, the whole thing about not going to school, and then eventually, like, yeah, they. And then the Young Avengers run into Calvin Zabo, aka Mr. Hyde. Yep, and then we have Steve, Jessica, and Iron Man meeting up with the family. We have Cap meeting up with the Bradleys. We have Jessica Jones meeting up with Peggy Lang. And of course, well, that's when we find out the end of issue number 7. That's when, oh yeah, a very similar scene we have, oh, someone at, yeah, it's basically Eli found, oh, he's taking drugs. I wonder if Jim Chang basically took inspiration from Neil Adams, because Neil Adams is not here. So, this is issue 7 review, at the end of issue 7 review, oh yeah, he actually taking drugs all along. He gets souped up here, he even tries to stop him. Yeah. Yeah, and they do eventually do stop Mr. Hyde. And eventually they would wake up, and then... And of course, Kev's like, you went to our parents? Calm down. I was like, no, blood transfusion, I think it was a lie. So he just quits the team. Moving to the special, kind of how... And this is where we have multiple different artists on here. Yeah. And first we have stuff with Alias. We have... Looks like Jessica talking to Cassie. And then Cassie proceeds to go to Stark Industries. And I love the fact that Neil drew this. Now, yes, it's Neil Adams' artwork, but yeah, love that picture right there. That is awesome. Yeah, I'll wait to Mr. Stark. And then her mom shows up, and then her stepfather shows up. Says, like, she doesn't like him at all because basically she points out, like, you think about his father. It's like, on your way to school. Not like Mr. Stark. X-Men sling. That's me. You know, my father. Your father was a convicted felon. Shut up. He's like, shut up. This is my father paid his debt to society and became a hero. Anything you do in a day, you have powers. If you're such a hero, why are you chasing criminals instead of 14-year-old girls? The best thing you can do. And like, then she gets slapped, and of course, like, don't worry, I'm never talking to him again. Morning, Cass. Blake might say you're ready to school. Nope. Yeah. Cassie can't stand her stepfather because the guy is a dick. He's always written to be a dick. Because he is. He's a massive dick. Yeah, the guy himself didn't really appear much. He first appeared in Avenger 62. Yeah. And this will be his only appearance in the book. Like, after this, appearing in the Avenger Special, he's not seen again for years. Until he pops up in Ant-Man number 5. Yep. And then he appears a handful of times in Astonishing Ant-Man. And then he appeared in Captain America Sam Wilson. And that was it for him. Despite him being Cassie's stepfather, he is not perfect much at all. He gets along fine with his wife. He does not like, basically, Scott at all. Nope. And that's kind of how he's written. Yeah, so then of course they go out, and it's kind of a little fun little story here with the various adventures of the characters, what they're up to prior to being, how they first assembled. They have some team where they actually fight the Shocker, and it's like the heroes are having fun beating up bad guys. Yeah. And this book came out between issues 8 and 9 of the series. Yep. And that's kind of interesting, the fact they released basically a special during an actual story arc. Mm-hmm. And the special itself was really, really good. I enjoyed the special. Yeah. So, then of course, basically we have Isaiah help out his awesome grandson. Yeah. Everything's all fun, and we get to issue 9. Also, apparently, it's revealed in the book that at one point that yeah, it was revealed in the special that Kate Bishop once been raped. Yeah, she was once raped. Yeah. It's something that's not really brought up very much at all. It was something that was revealed in the special here about this. But it's not really touched upon very much at all. Yeah, so really fun here. Eventually, they all come back together again. It was in the past, basically, and of course, not really affect her at all. And then the Super Skrull shows up. Yes, a Super Skrull. And of course, yeah, it was like, yeah, because they're here basically to get Hulkling. Cassie goes giant. Says, by the way, she also comes Stretcher in these later issues. A code name she would keep for many, many years. Until the Astonishing Animated Series give her MC2 codename of Stinger. Yep. So then Eli gets threatened by another Super Skrull, and of course, they reveal that yeah, it looks like Teddy's mom living there is not actually his mom; it's actually a Skrull, and she gets burned. She dies at the end of issue 9. Yeah, basically, which is his adopted son. Mm-hmm. Oh, and the Super Skrull fighting him here? Yeah, it's the same one who fought the Fantastic Four. Not just a Super Skrull, the Super Skrull. And then you have this as the most common image you think of when you think of the Young Avengers, this very cover here. And then we have this wonderful thing of like, yeah, Vision and Jarvis is playing chess, which is so awesome. And then they show up to retrieve Vision. And then we see this wonderful image here of the Avengers, classic Avengers. And we'll see in the picture, you have Scarlet Witch, Hawkeye, Carol Danvers, Iron Man, Captain America, Quicksilver, Thor, Hank Pym, and Wonder Man. Surprisingly, no Wasp in the picture, which is interesting. And of course, yeah, look more Avengers. And Cassie, when she's Vision is look they had when they first started, he just had updated to make him more like the traditional Vision. Yeah, because the other look reminded too much of Iron Lad, because apparently she had a thing for Iron Lad. Yeah, and then they go to this prison where they run into Tommy, aka Speed. Yep. Wiccan's brother. Yep, it's his brother. This book is basically the debut of Speed. Well, they call him Tommy Shepard, but yeah. Yeah, they later find out the whole... It's kind of weird related to the whole thing with Speed. And you think, well, look like he looks like Quicksilver. Well, there's kind of a reason for that. Yes. So... Oh yeah, and then of course it's revealed that Teddy's mom was in fact the Skrull princess, killed when Galactus consumed Thermal battles back in the 80s, and his father is the original Captain Marvel, Marvel. Yep. And then Skrull shot by the Kree, because we gotta have basically Kree and Skrulls fight each other, and because apparently, because his father was a Kree, he has to go to space for like 6 months. Yeah. That's the other workout later on. Yeah. And then we have Sentry, Spider-Woman, and Iron Man show up here. And then, of course, you have Eli being shot. Then you have Spider-Man show up. Where the heck have you been? This is only your second appearance in the book. And then we lead to the last issue where he gets wounded. Though by then he does have the active blood transfusion with his grandfather, which gives him the super soldier formula that he was supposed to have originally. Yeah. Massive brawl. Wolverine basically shows up here completely randomly. Yeah. And the fight settled and he goes up to space. But the team basically is recognized as Young Avengers. And Kate Bishop basically provided them. At this point she calls herself Hawkeye. Yes. By the final issue of the book. Also they reveal that Wiccan and Speed are in fact... They mention the whole thing related to the Scarlet Witch and... Well, the whole thing with the stuff that led into the fact that Wiccan and Speed are in fact the reincarnated souls of Vision and Scarlet Witch's children. Yes. So, yeah, and Kate Bishop in the final issue becomes officially Hawkeye first time. But her aliases she had Hawkeye, instead of Hawkeye, she also had Hawk S, Kate Hawk, Taskmastress, Weapon Woman. Yes. The K-Hawk thing was actually in the previous line for West Coast Avengers. And she becomes Hawkeye. And she still is Hawkeye's variant. They even had a couple solo books with her. Yep. And New Avengers here. They stop the Skrull Army. Also, the person leaves Captain R. Round, who debuts this book. And if you're curious, does he actually return after this? He does. We don't actually see him again until, get this, Web of Venom, Empire's End. And after that, then we see him in King of Black, Wiccan Hulkling. And that's it. But yeah. They're recognized as a team. And that's that for the book. There's a second page called Mass Marvel. He is just a guy who only appeared twice. His previous appearance was in a backup feature in issue 187 for X-Men. Yeah. But what's the next time the Young Avengers officially appear? Of course, I mentioned, oh yeah, let's go after the Zodiac after this. Yeah. And that's the book in a nutshell. This book is fantastic. It is by far a really good volume. And it is a shame that the original creative team did not come back for this book. You're probably thinking, did they come back for... Because they didn't come back for volume 2. Nope. They did come back for Children's Crusade, which In that book, they brought back Scott Lang, and this is the book that Eli retired as Patriot, and Vision got killed off. Yeah. They did finally disband after. No, the only reason why. Here's the weird thing about Chosen Crusade. This book took a long time to come out. And I don't know if I want to blame that on the creators or Marvel. It's weird. Because first issue came out in July. Second one came out in December. Third was November. And then January. And then we had to wait 4 months for issue 5. 2 months for issue 6. 7 was 3 months. And then like 3 months later, and the final issue was not released until 3 months later. Why no delay? I don't know. But the first one had 0 delays, and every single issue on time. But what came next for the Young Avengers? Well, chronologically, it was Young Avengers Presents. But publication-wise, it was Civil War, Young Avengers, which was published in July. Let's see. Which I have covered this book already. Yes, I have. And this was published 1 month just after the final issue of the main Young Avengers book wrapped up. And after this book wrapped up, then we had Young Avengers Presents, which I have reviewed 1 issue from this miniseries. You're thinking, which one? The Hawkeye issue. Issue 6. I have reviewed that one. I have never reviewed the other ones yet. But that was next time we saw the Young Avengers, was in that very book. Which I'll hopefully get a chance to do that soon. I've already reviewed Children's Crusade. That's done. I'm not worried about that one. So what's left for Young Avengers? Well, you got Volume 2. You have Secret Invasion Young Avengers. Dark Reign Young Avengers. Siege Young Avengers is a one-shot. I think that's it. Yeah, but I definitely did enjoy this this complete collection. This Ultimate Collection was amazing. Yeah. And did you know there was an actual Epic Collection for Young Avengers? Yes, it actually just came out. Maybe I could get my hands on this book. I mean, the first volume itself looked like I just covered this book here. I don't think this is the Epic Collection. I don't think so, no. Volume 2 covers the Secret Invasion, Civil War Young Avengers, Young Avengers Presents, Secret Invasion Young Avengers, Dark Reign Young Avengers, and the Siege one-shot. So, this might be something basically I might cover in the future. But it's kind of a good thing where they're not covering the Young Avengers Volume 2. Oh my gosh. That'd be something. But I've always really enjoyed the Ultimate Collection stuff. Yeah. Like I said, the book is fantastic. I give it a 10 out of 10. So that's pretty much a particular review. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications. So I will see you all tomorrow for more videos. Okay? Bye.